You're sitting in your kitchen, staring at a tiny bowl of mashed food, wondering what your baby should eat first. You've read blogs. You've seen charts. You've asked friends. But here's what most parents don't realize. The very first foods your baby eats don't just shape their body. They shape how their brain learns to trust, explore, and regulate the world. In Japan, a mother in Kyoto starts her baby not with sweet fruit, not with processed cereal, but with something surprisingly simple. And the reason why might change how you feed your baby starting tomorrow. In Japan, many babies begin with okayu, a soft rice porridge. Dr. Harumi Okano at Tokyo University, 2018, found that early exposure to mild, neutral flavors increases acceptance of diverse foods by 42% later in childhood. Your baby isn't picky. They're learning patterns. A mother in Osaka fed her 7-month-old plain rice porridge for weeks before adding vegetables. No sugar. No salt. Just simplicity. To your baby, this feels like a calm introduction to a brand new world. But that's just the first layer. The next reason is even more surprising. Most parents get this exactly backwards, and it's accidentally slowing down their baby's brain development. In many Western homes, babies are introduced to sweet foods first. Dr. Julie Manella at the Manel Chemical Senses Center, 2016, found that early sugar exposure increases preference for sweetness by up to 30%. Your baby isn't craving sugar. They're being trained to expect it. A father in Tokyo told me his child refused sweet snacks later because they were never the starting point. Imagine tasting the world without overload. But here's the surprising part. But there's a specific window of time when this works best, and 90% of parents miss it completely. Between 6 and 12 months, your baby's taste receptors are highly adaptable. A 2020 study in the journal Appetite found this window determines long-term food preferences. Before this, your baby relies on milk. After this, preferences begin to lock in. Your baby isn't rejecting food. They're forming lifelong patterns. But here's something almost no one talks about, and it might be the most important piece of all. In Japan, feeding isn't rushed. Dr. Ruth Feldman at Bar-Ilan University, 2017, found that slow, responsive feeding improves emotional regulation and lowers stress hormones. Your baby isn't being slow. They're co-regulating with you. A mother in Kyoto pauses between each spoon, watching her baby's face. To your baby, this feels like safety. But here's the surprising part. And here's the ironic part. This actually makes the problem worse. When parents push food quickly or distract with screens, it increases cortisol. A 2019 UCLA study showed overstimulation during feeding raises stress levels by 28%. Your baby isn't being difficult. They're overwhelmed. A mom in Los Angeles used cartoons to feed faster. Her baby began resisting meals within weeks. But you can change this today. But this only works if you avoid one common mistake. The mistake 90% of parents make. Western feeding often focuses on quantity. Japanese feeding focuses on experience. Dr. Takeo Fujiwara from the Japan Environment and Children's Study, 2021, found that mindful feeding improves self-regulation scores by 35% at age 3. Your baby isn't undereating. They're learning control. A father rushed his baby to finish meals. The child began throwing food within days. But you can change this today. And this is the part that most parenting books never tell you. Your baby's first foods are not just nutrition. They are communication. Mirror neuron research by Dr. Giacomo Rizzolatti, University of Parma, 2004, shows babies copy emotional states during interaction. If you're calm, your baby learns calm. If you're stressed, your baby learns stress. Imagine eating while sensing tension in the room. But there's a catch, and it's a big one. Consistency matters more than perfection. A longitudinal Harvard study, 2015, found children exposed to consistent feeding routines had 32% better impulse control later in life. Your baby isn't testing you. They're learning rhythm. But now you know what actually works. Here's what you do starting tonight. No perfection required. Step 1. Start with simple neutral foods because it builds flexible taste pathways. Step 2. Slow down feeding because it supports emotional regulation. Step 3. Watch your baby's cues because it strengthens attachment. Step 4. Avoid early sugar because it prevents long-term preference bias. Step 5. Stay calm during meals because your baby mirrors your nervous system. Your baby isn't difficult. They're deeply sensitive. They're not resisting you. They're responding to you. You are not controlling. You are guiding. A mother in Osaka didn't rush, didn't force, didn't distract. She simply stayed present. And her baby learned to trust food, trust rhythm, and trust her. And this changes everything. Tomorrow morning, try slowing down instead of speeding up. And watch what happens.